Amazing. Okay, is anybody, besides what happened today in the Congress, is anybody trying to do anything to stop this?
Yes. Okay. I'm working with a coalition of people called the Set America Free Coalition, and people can find out about them at setamericafree.org. And what they're doing is they are pulling together a bipartisan coalition of congressmen and senators that is going to introduce a bill that will require that all new cars sold in the United States be flex fueled.
Regardless of where they're built, right?
That's right. And that's very important. It has to affect the foreign cars as well, or it's not going to work. Because, first of all, they're three-quarters of the market here, and they're much more of the market globally than the American cars. And we want to make this global. So the idea here is this, okay, and I lay this out at length in my book, Energy Victory, okay? It's all explained there at great length. But the basic idea is as follows. We're not addicted to oil. It's our cars that are addicted to oil. Okay? It's our cars that are enslaved to the product that OPEC produces. But cars can be made that are not limited to the product that OPEC produces. The flex fuel cars can run on methanol, they can run on ethanol, and they can also run on gasoline as well. Okay, now we make it the law that any car sold in the United States be flex fueled. That basically will become the international standard. The Japanese are not going to walk away from the American automobile market, neither are the Europeans.
Let's talk more about this plan, Robert, when we come right back on Coast to Coast. And Robert Moore on Set America Free. More of the plan. Go ahead.
All right. So the plan is we make it the law that to sell a car in the United States, it has to give the consumer fuel choice. That becomes the rule then for cars that are marketed anywhere in the world. And then what that would do is give sufficient market so that gas station owners, which right now have no incentive to set up alcohol fuel pumps because only a few percent of the cars on the road can use alternate fuels, they'll set up the pumps. And thus what we'll have is within 3 years of such a law, we'll have 50 million cars on the road in the United States capable of running on methanol, ethanol, or gasoline, hundreds of millions more worldwide. And under these conditions, gasoline would be forced to compete at the pump directly against methanol and ethanol made in any number of possible ways all over the world. Not just corn ethanol in Iowa, but coal methanol in Poland and sugar ethanol in Latin America and, methanol made from urban trash recycling in England and you name it. Okay, there's one or another way to make one or another of these fuels in practically every country in the world.
Can this happen fast enough, though, Robert? I mean, we've got our backs against the wall right now.
This can happen pretty fast. I mean, the very first thing that will happen is as soon as Congress passes this law, it'll knock $10 or $20 a barrel right off the price. $10 or $20 a barrel off the price of oil, because the price of oil right now
sounds like short selling, basically, huh?
Yeah, there's the price of oil would be high right now because of OPEC and what it's doing, but then there's another $10 or $20 a barrel on top of that, which is being added by speculators because they're confident the price is going to keep going up.
Right.
In other words, the word is out.
$200 barrel, aren't they? That's what they're talking about.
That's where we're headed for next year, right. And so if you know that oil's going to $200 a barrel next year and $300 a barrel the year after that, why not pay $130 a barrel today? As you're saying, it's not going down, I'll just keep bidding it up. So this even makes things worse. As soon as they have a law like this passed, people will know that this party is not going to last forever, and that'll take the speculative premium off the price of oil. Then other things will start to happen pretty fast. One thing we've seen from the corn ethanol experience in the United States is that these ethanol plants, they've been building them on a time scale of a year to 18 months. That's how long it takes to build one of these plants from the start. So that really, as soon as people know that in a couple of years there's going to be tens of millions of cars in this country that can use this stuff, money is going to move to start building the plants. So that even within 2 years, in 2 years we'll have 34 million cars in this country that could run on ethanol or methanol. In 3 years we'll have 50 million. With those kinds of numbers coming on, people will start setting up pumps, people will start building plants. There'll be all kinds of ways that people will propose to do it. Some people will want to take coal and turn it into methanol. Some people want to turn crop residues into methanol. Some people will push ethanol from corn or cellulosic ethanol or ethanol from sugar. There's lots of ways to go here. And by the way, this will be happening all over the world. All over the world, people will know there's about to be a gigantic vehicle fuel market for these fuels. So not just in the United States, but in the Caribbean where they can grow sugar, which is a great way to make ethanol, and in Latin America and in Africa. Everyone
should have been done years ago, Robert. You know that. They should have done this.
Okay, it's basically going to be open season on OPEC. Okay, everyone's going to have... See, look. Many gas station owners have the wherewithal to put in a new pump if they want to.
Of course.
Okay. Many small-town businessmen can go around and find the kind of capital that is needed to build, say, an ethanol plant, and they do. The amount of money required to build a medium-sized ethanol plant is about as much as it costs to build a shopping center. So small-town businessmen, medium-sized entrepreneurs, they can put together the kind of money to make plants and equipment, to certainly distribution trucks, fuel pumps at gas stations. What they don't have the ability to do is build an auto company to make cars. So that's the key thing. If we make the cars compatible with methanol and ethanol, then there's all kinds of people that can jump into the act and say, hey, I know how to make this fuel. I can do it right here. Methanol is selling right now, today, as we're speaking, for $1.50 a gallon unsubsidized.
Unsubsidized.
No subsidy. It's going for $1.50.
What's diesel at now? We'll get calls, I'm sure.
Okay, diesel's over $4. Now, methanol, okay, it doesn't have as much energy per gallon as gasoline. It's about 55% as much energy as gasoline. And so methanol at $1.50 a gallon is basically the equivalent of gasoline at about $2.80 a gallon.
Still, it's not a bad deal today.
No, it's not a bad deal today. And what's more to the point, it puts a fence. In other words, they say, okay, well, we'll have to lower the price of gasoline to $2.80 a gallon to compete with that. Well, not only that, they'd have to keep it there. They'll never be able to raise it up beyond that because methanol can be made in so many different ways. It can be made from coal. It can be made from any kind of crop residues. It can be made from swamp plants, leaves that fall from trees in the fall. It can be made from recycled urban trash. There's no shortage of any of this stuff. And the price of none of these things are dependent on oil. So basically, once you have cars that are capable of running on methanol, that puts an upper limit on what oil can go for.
Okay. If the plan can get the support, what are the odds of the Congress getting a bill like that passed?
Well, I think this year it's going to be tough because of all the politics that are in play. But I think that we have a chance this year, and we're going to push. And one thing that everyone on this show who's listening to the show can do is call up your congressman, call up your senator's office. The number, by the way, is 202 224-3121. That's the Capitol Hill switchboard. 202-224-3121. You call that switchboard and you just name your congressman. They'll connect you right to them, and the senators as well. That's the only number you need to know. Okay, call them up and tell them, ask to speak to a legislative aide. Okay, you can get past the secretary. I mean, it's very difficult to get the congressman on the phone, but you can generally get a legislative aide on the phone, okay, someone more important than a secretary, and say, I want you to support this flex fuel bill, the flex fuel bill that's going to be sponsored in the Senate by Senators Brownback and Bayh, and in the House of Representatives by Engel and Kingston. And these are one of each is a Republican and one is a Democrat, and there's a lot. You say, I want you to be a co-sponsor along with them. And if you're not, I want you to explain to me the reason why you are on the side of the oil cartel and against America.
Good point.
Because in whose interest is it that the cars not be flex-fueled? In whose interest is it that we don't have fuel choice? Only the oil cartel.
Why don't you get the names of legislators who don't support it, and I'll read them on the air.
Okay, well, we don't have complete lists yet. Right now,
when you're ready.
Yeah. But we'll get it to you, George, and we can put it on the air, and you can put it on your website who's supporting it and who's not.
We'll play a bell every time someone doesn't support it.
Okay.
Bing.
Right.
And you know what? Because they've got to wake up. Somebody's got to start doing something.